Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Professor Gauravdhar Bhomi. I am from the Agriculture Food Engineering Department of IIT Kharagpur. Welcome to the course Advanced Aquaculture Technology. Today, this is the third lecture of Module 3 Farming Systems, and today I will mainly be discussing about the mariculture. So, the concepts that I will be covering today in this particular lecture is the demand for seafood, opportunity set for the marine aquaculture, the types of mariculture, the siting consideration, environmental risks and the possibilities for mitigation techniques, and advantages and the drawbacks of RAS, that is recirculatory aquaculture system, and offshore aquaculture. So, in general we know that aquaculture, which is responsible for almost 50% of the share of the seafood production for human consumption. More like it's very recent study actually, but previously it was much less than that. Like even 10 years back also it was not more than 20% of the total seafood production, but now it almost equals to the capture fisheries, which is like 50% of the rest of the seafood production, and which I have discussed in the very first module. The seafood demand, it's increasing with the increasing population definitely, and definitely for this new trend of healthy eating that we are having. So, because of that we try to be like more prone to eating seafood based products and all, and it has actually a very high health benefits because of the major source of omega 3 and 5 fatty acids. Moreover, the food production must increase by at least 70% to what it is right now to feed the projected population of around 9.7 billion, and to what right now it's I think 7.4 billion people in 2022. And it can increase up to almost around 10 billion by the end of 2050. To sustainably achieve this goal, the seafood sector, especially the aquaculture, it has to play a very crucial role, and the main way forward is the blue revolution in harmony with the marine ecosystem. So, the blue revolution is the one that we are right now in this era, and the government of India is also putting a lot of effort for this blue revolution. We have different technologies related to the blue revolutions and all, and also its harmony with the marine ecosystem, not disrupting the existing ecosystem or not disrupting the environment in general. So, in case of like based on the growth in population, based on the increase in the middle class income and the consumers, they are mainly prone to eating these seafoods, and the predictability, definitely the desire for consistent quality product year round, and also the increase in the quality, volatility and the scarcity of the wild product, people are more prone to go for aquaculture based sea products and all. So, and also the taste and preferences, as we already discussed, and the food safety, definitely there is a major concern regarding the frequency and the severity of food safety incidents all over the world, and people are more prone to go for the natural products. So, natural seafood are becoming a very high demand right now all over the globe. So, based on all these criteria and all, we can definitely say that the demand for the seafood is increasing. It's in a very rising trend right now, and there are different opportunities which lies with this particular sector, and which there is a possible, especially in terms of Indian scenario, like the coastal region that we have almost 7,500 kilometer of coastal length that we have, and if I talk about the area including the exclusive economic zone, it's I think more than 2 million square kilometer. So, which is like huge, and there are possibility of exploring a huge amount of entrepreneurship, as well as the job and all it's available in this particular sector. So, Government of India is also putting a lot of effort. So, maybe it's better to in next decade or or so, this sector will bloom like anything, and whole I really request all the the young generation people right now watching this video to look into this matter and try to find out some opportunity, try to grab the opportunity which lies especially in sub Indian continental scenario in this aquaculture sector specifically. So there are three primary production systems with the highest potential for the financial returns and environmental sustainability in case of aquaculture systems. Are first the on-land finfish recirculating aquaculture systems. Second is offshore finfish aquaculture systems, and third is bivalve and the seaweed aquaculture systems. Out of all the aquaculture methods, aquaculture methods and the processes that is available, systems that is available, according to the FAO's recent discussion and all, and also based on the based on the discussions by the resource person all over the world, it was found out that these three this production systems, this aquaculture systems, has a very high potential to become a major supplier of the seafood, major supplier of the protein based aquatic species in a near future. RAS system, you already know what is recirculating aquaculture systems and how it works. So we'll be discussing about it in details more in later slides, as well as in later lectures in details with the design and all. The offshore finfish aquaculture systems, what is offshore is in these offshore regions when we go for cage cultures and all. So there we call it offshore finfish aquaculture systems. Bivalves, oysters and all, like the seaweeds, the different kind of seaweeds, we know the brown, green, red seaweeds and all. So this has a huge potential. I'll discuss in details what are the potentials that lies with this kind of production systems. So if you see this particular graph in that is particular figure that it shows the abscissa versus coordinate, if you see the level of risk versus capital intensity, the coastal seaweed has a very low capital intensity required at the very beginning stage of its production. Also, the level of risk is also very less. Moreover, it can also give us a huge amount of environmental benefits and all. Okay, whereas the coastal ponds, the coastal bivalves, coastal finfish has almost moderate level of risk and moderate level of capital intensity, and this circle size actually showing us the current scale of production. You can see the coastal seaweed production is very high all over the world, but in Indian scenario it is not yet properly explored. So there is a high chance of going to this particular sector, for there will be a huge bloom in near future in this particular sector. If you go for the offshore finfish and all, the capital intensity is very high and the level of risk is very high. However, you will get a huge amount of benefits, economic return also, if you can do it proper sustainable way, proper scientific way. So this is also a very high economic return production systems, but it comes with a certain level of risk, and also the capital involvement is also very high at the beginning. So the technological improvement, it decreased the relative cost as I discussed, and also seafood. The more the seafood demand increase, the conventional supply will constrain. So these are the problems that associated with this kind of sectors as well. The increase in the traditional production cost due to the regulations and all, that also a major issue that we need to address. Based on we have to convince the policy makers and all to go ahead, providing us with this kind of solutions. If you see in general, what is mariculture? It's a branch of aquaculture which involves the cultivation of marine organisms in seawater. Okay, either it's practiced in offshore, inshore, or onshore basis. Offshore mariculture means the enclosed section in the open sea. Okay, the what is inshore, like the fish farms built in the littoral waters, and the artificial tanks, ponds, and raceways are called normally that we culture in the near to the shore. It's a onshore mariculture. If you see this particular figure, if you see this is the surfing zone. If you see the terrace, the burns, and the cliffs, so this is called the breakers, and up to this littoral zone or the benthic zone, if you see up to the almost the moment the depth of seawater becomes more than 60 meter, okay, around like 200 feet. So up to that part is called the littoral zone. Okay, so there is, you will find the cliff. This is the different very standard nomenclature that you need to remember. the coast area, the what is the beach, what is called the beach, what is the coastal area, what is offshore area, what is near shore, and this is the shoreline. You can see this is the terrace, this is the surfing zone, this is the high tide and low tide area. That means the in low tide time, low tide region, this is the low tide region, and this is the high tide regions. It can go cover the almost the full of the bonds. So this is how it looks like. This is the standard nomenclature for this kind of aquaculture systems, and especially in the mariculture systems, that you need to remember. Okay. So yeah. So other than that, the products from the mariculture that have a wide variety of uses like pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, nutraceuticals, food additives, jewelry, etc. and etc. The major and the minor species farmed around the world's coastline is the seaweed, mollusk, shrimps, marine fishes, and the minor is like the sea cucumber and the seahorses. So what are the types of mariculture? In general, we have this mollusk culture, crustaceans, marine plant, finfish, etc. So we'll discuss about all these four in details, a little bit details. So in what is mollusk culture actually? If you know the bivalves, especially the bivalve mollusks, so they are how all the discussions I have covered it in two different bifurcated into two different subsections. First one is the brood stock or the seed supply availability. Second is the grow out pond or the grow out necessities and all. In the brood stock and all the seed supply, if you consider for the mollusk culture, the bivalve mollusks, its larvae are collected from the natural ground in general, okay, using the material to which it normally adhered to. Then or either it is produced in the hatcheries using the artificial propagation methods, artificial fertilizations methods and all, okay. So these are the two methods by which the seeds are been collected, and seeds are been the mollusk larva has been collected or the seeds are been grown there or like collected. And the grow out, in general the larvae are grown in the hanging cultures, either it's like a suspended from a floating raft or the long lines we call, it's like long rope and where there will be like strings and trays and stacks or the mesh bags will be hanged with it. So in general these mollusks are normally grown in this kind of structures, vertical or rack structure, or either like like it's a stick like structure, if it will be called vertical, if it's like a platform like structure it's a rack. The bottom culture, the shells, stones, rocks or the cement slab added to the ground where also they can grow, or in the land based systems. So second is the crustaceans culture, mainly the shrimps, okay. So mainly the seed supply for these shrimps are actually mainly previously it was majorly, we are actually majorly relied on this wild caught larvae and all, but nowadays this in case of hatcheries we are mainly, the new trend is like we go for this artificial propagation methods by which we use the varied females or the egg carried females, and then we do the proper brood stock management and all, and we get the larva out of it. So the grow out ponds, the grow out takes place in general in the earthen ponds or the concrete raceways or tanks in case of crustaceans, this kind of streams. So we'll more discuss about in details in the later lecture about the culture of streams and about the culture of these crustaceans and how to the management of hatcheries and all, okay. So marine plant cultures, it also either macro or microalgae or microalgae, and also the sea grasses and all. So major sources of brood stock is the wild collection definitely, but most culture is now dependent on the hatchery collection also, hatchery production in the early life stages also in different stages of the world. So they are like people are working on it, scientists are working on it on this particular brood stock management of marine plant cultures also. So in case of grow out, the young plants are cultured in three different methods, either in suspended, either in long line or rafting methods, either bottom culture in the sea and the benthic regions where the large rocks or the artificial shapes of concrete on the seabed, or the inland tank culture. The third another thing is like the finfish culture, where the brood stock or the seed supply is mainly from the mix of domesticated and the wild animals. Most of the species are grown from larva or fry produced in the hatcheries though nowadays. The grow out, it can happen in the cage culture, it can happen in the pen culture, because mainly we are talking about marine mariculture, okay. So where is the cage culture, which is it can be inshore or offshore cages fixed, it can be floating, or it can be submerged. So inshore cages are located in protected or the shallow areas with the less water circulation, whereas the offshore cages, where they are located in the more than 30 meter of, like, at least the water depth, and where they will be having at least this like deep water and the open areas, which less protection from storms, but with a better water exchange. Okay, so there is a chance it has a very high turbulence area. There is chance that it can be in a high turbulence area, but we try to protect it as much as possible. We try to put it in such a way, we try to find a place in the offshore area where there is a less affected by the sea storms and this high turbulence waves and all. Okay. Next, the pen culture. The nets or the fish pens are located in the shallow water, and their edges are anchored to the bottom. In case of, in this picture, if you see this, it shows exactly how it looks like, the offshore finfish production. If you see, this is only the inshore areas, where this is the offshore area where either the submersible cages are like installed with the offshore. This is the offshore finfish farm, where there are like different kind of sensors. Nowadays people are putting, like the industries, the business the entrepreneurs who are working there, so they put the different kind of sensors to get a real time data about the existing structure and about how it can be all the parameters can be well monitored throughout the lifespan, throughout the harvesting cycle. And this data is directly connected through the satellite to the inland offices and all. They collect the data and they try to monitor that whether they need some kind of human super intervention is needed or not. Okay, or there are some troubleshooting measures which are already installed there. So this kind of troubleshooting measures automatically starts acting on it. Suppose there is a very lack of additional foods or additional feed and all. So there are artificial feeders which are installed there in case of feed deficiency, and also they can easily operate from the inland offices. And okay, so they can control the system, and this automatic feeder starts working, and then they can feed. It's like emergency measure, kind of emergency. This is just an example of how the emergency measure look like in this kinds of offshore aquaculture system, finfish farms and all. And after the feed supplies and the juvenile fishes are being provided from the land, and they were provided there, and after a while, after it comes to the maturation stage, it is harvested and go to the processing plant, and from there it goes to the market and all. So this is the, if you see further about what this mariculture looks like in general, like in terms of the siting considerations. So if you see this green thingies are the place where actually we should go ahead and go for aquaculture practices. This other colors, this orange colors are the one where we shouldn't go. Like these are the ones which should be free from any anthropogenic activities. Okay, especially anthropogenic activities, I mean, like you should not go for at least the major aquaculture practices. Okay. So if you see this first green region is the recirculated aquaculture systems, which you can do in the inland areas, even near coastal areas, even in the coastal areas also with the artificial island, in an island and all. Okay, so that's a separate thing. RAS you can do. Mangrove areas, you shouldn't interfere with the environment. We shouldn't interfere with the this, especially the mangrove areas. Mangrove areas are a huge source of carbon sink for us. They consume a huge amount of carbon dioxide. They sequestrate that carbon, and not only that, they helps us to get rid of the all the unwanted, like all the in the high tidal situation, or not even high tidal, any storm and all. They protect the land from this storm, his storm activities and all. So these mangrove areas are the one which we should not somehow we shouldn't make any changes to the land and also we should not cut the mangrove areas for the sake of aquaculture and all. That is the worst possible scenario that we can do for the harm that we can do to the environment. Then the coastal ponds are very high source of these different kind of mangrove grasses, the sea grasses and all, and which are actually very good. They are also naturally, there are different kind of different type of fishes, different kind of aquatic species can be made available, which can feed the local villagers and the local entrepreneurs. So that is a completely different issues that people can work on it. So we shouldn't put that thing also in at risk. Okay, so the aquaculture practices should not be followed in these coastal ponds and the village areas definitely. Then there comes the shallow water regions. In the shallow water regions by the side of the coastal area, there you can easily culture the bivalves and seaweed. It's a perfect dwelling space for the culturing of the seaweeds and the bivalves. So we should go ahead with this. It will not only help to like give you economic benefit, but also it will give you the environmental benefit as well, because the seaweeds and bivalves, they are actually called this filter feeders and all. I think they can consume a huge amount of particulate matter from the system, and they utilize it, and they can reduce the pollutant load of the that waste or that water. And also not only that, the seaweed, it can consume a huge amount of carbon dioxide, and it can provide the ample amount of oxygen. So it somehow it helps. It's a huge like sector now people are working on all over the world in seaweed and seaweeds, and also to utilize it as a source of carbon dioxide storage and utilization process, carbon dioxide sequestration process. And then there come the ports and all, where major economic activities are taking place, so you shouldn't disrupt their that ecosystem, disrupt their that particular systems. That then the net pen farming and all not deep enough, so we shouldn't go for this pen farming. We should go for this pen farming which is not very deep and all. Okay, we can have an enclosed space, we can have this enclosed space, we can supply our seeds, or we can naturally collect the wild seeds and we can supply it there, and we can have our production there. Okay, so it's not good enough for offshore farmings and all. Okay, offshore farming or bivalves and so this is possible. This is human intervention is it's done actually there in the pen farming, but it is somehow has a lot of environmental how to say, the disadvantages. It has a lot of disadvantages, including the environmental disruptions and all. So normally it is not kind of suggested by a lot of scientists all over the world. So then there comes a major fishing area where actually naturally there are like lot of fishes, lot of aquatic species are available. So you don't want to disrupt there. You can go there, you can collect you can just capture the fishes from there. Then there comes the coral reefs and all. Coral reefs, definitely it's a very major ecosystem. It normally dwells there, so you don't want to disrupt those kind of systems as well. It's a marine ecosystem. Then this buffer zone where you normally do not find anything. Then there comes the offshore cage farming. You can go ahead with this. There you can put your cages in like multiple cages and go for a proper farming there. It involves with some capital investment, but it gives you a huge return, and also you don't have to worry about any kind of most of the inputs are actually being somehow suppressed there. Like you don't have to supply with the water, you don't have to go for fresh water exchange, you don't have to provide it with the feed. So it's like you are culturing your production, your farm actually in a very natural situations. So you're actually mimicking the natural situation. Not only mimicking, actually you're using your farming in a natural environment, but your production can be very high based on your like you don't want to go for intensive or the semi-intensive aquaculture and all. Okay, and after that you don't want to go for aquaculture because it's too far from the port, it's economically not viable. Okay, so what are the environmental risks and impacts that associated with the mariculture? The first of all, nutrient pollution and the eutrophication. Okay, now so that is one of the major reason. I remember I told you in the last slide that the pen culture is sometimes considered as not a very good idea to go for mariculture process. This is not a good practice actually in general. So there are ways of actually recovering those cons part, recovering those disadvantages, but in general it causes the eutrophication. What is eutrophication? Because it's near to the coastal pens and coastal the banks and all. What happened, there are like it and it normally we go for the intensive aquaculture. In case of intensive aquaculture, intensive pen culture, they produce a huge amount of this fish feces and all any aquatic species that we're culturing. So because of that, it causes a huge harm to the the surrounding ecosystem. Not only that, it's a huge source of nitrogen species are being developed there. Because of that, what happened, there is a chances of algal bloom there. And if it started algal blooming, and if they find it is very suitable environment for them to grow, they will keep on producing very fast. At one point of time, they will just completely cover the surface, and it will cause the eutrophication. It will cause the sunlight to not to enter to the system, to the that particular water body, and that can cause a major harm. Okay, so that's a eutrophication of the nutrient pollution. Harmful algal blooms, as I already discussed, there is a chance like harmful algal blooms can happen, and which causes this eutrophication. Spreading of parasites and diseases is there is a chance of because it's in the wild situation, you do not have any control with the environment, any control with your catch, right, with your with your farming product. So that is a major issue. The escapes, there is a chance they get escaped somehow natural, because of some natural calamity or natural erosion process. So they may get this net can get eroded, they can be somehow there is a small hole or something, so all the fishes, all your farming products will escape. That's a major problem. Aliens, the same way, not only escapes, but alien fishes or alien aquatic species can come inside the system, and which can also disrupt the whole ecosystem like anything. Okay, genetical issues, because there is a chance of interbreeding and all, because there is a chances of this is actually there are possibilities of the mixed culture, this mixed culture, and what do you mean by mixed culture here? Like when there is any alien species are coming inside your system, inside your farm, and it because of the in the offspring there is a chances of having very weak offspring and all, which actually cause a very different kind of genetical problems and all. Okay, in this kind of year. So farming up and in the fishing down the food chain, what does that mean? Sometimes there is a chance we go for farming upside of the food chain, or maybe we fishing down the food chain or the food or a different tropical level, and because of that the whole ecosystem, this ecosystem that we have this in case of food chain, that can disrupt. Okay, catching the good stock from the wild is actually not a good idea all the time, because in the wild they may reduce the actual number of because when we are catching, we are not catching in one or two, we are catching in numbers. Okay, so in huge numbers. So because of that, it can cause serious consequences in the surrounding ecosystem. The habitat degradation and the modification, we are actually kind of playing with the nature here, and because of that there is a chances of habitat degradation for the existing dwelling species there. And the acoustic disturbance is definitely there. Acoustic disturbance is like nearby places, if there is port or something, so they can also cause the environmental disruption to these systems, to this kind of our mariculture and all. Possibilities for mitigation, obviously first is IMTA process, as we have already discussed, integrated multi-tropic aquaculture, that can minimize this kind of problems. Use of the enclosed reservoir system for streams and finfish, definitely you go for enclosed ensure this shrimp and finfish cultures. Reduce the disease outbreak and transmission by use of medication and different hormonal strategy, or the hormonal injection. Feeding management to reduce the waste and to improve the food security. Reduction of the eutrophication impacts by properly supplying, or by somehow arranging the system pen in such a way, in such a place where there is a certain amount of water flow, and because of that it can get rid of all the obnoxious particles or the pollutants along with it. So somehow we can have a reduced eutrophication impact. Proper site selection is very important, as I already discussed. The use of hydraulic devices to get rid of the water in the gravity through gravity, or through proper way, so through conduit systems and all. Removal of the harmful algae, so we need to think about it. We need to really worry about the harmful, so not to have the harmful algae in our system. So based on all these things, why we should, why still I would prefer to request you to go for RAS systems, which is much better than all the other mariculture systems. Especially in case of RAS systems, circular aquaculture systems, you can develop the streams and all. Nowadays, it is possible. It gives you better environmental performance because you are doing the aquaculture practice in complete environmental security, complete optimal situation. So because of that, you are actually controlling the environmental impact and all, and it can also give you a huge high production capacities per unit area. Definitely, because of the control situation, you can reduce the mortality rate. It will give you better control over the production outcome. It can reduce the impact on the wild stocks and the habitats, as it happens in the mariculture in general. It reduces the water pollution or the disease transfer or alien like an alien species intermissions and all. So best suited for where the local market for seafood is abundant. So it has a lot of benefits, this recirculating aquaculture systems, but it comes with the drawback, like it needs actually huge amount of energy, and it needs a huge capital investment at the beginning. And however, if you can design it properly, it can give you other benefits as well. So what are the advantages and drawbacks of the offshore finfish production in general? It improves the feed conversion ratio, it improves the disease control. It has offshore, I mean, like when we talk about the offshore mariculture, that's the best. Okay, that's one of the best aquaculture practice in like among the mariculture or the other mariculture practices and other. So there are these three things you have to remember. First is RAS, second is offshore finfish, and third is bivalve and seaweed. These three are the future. Okay, in aquaculture sector, these three are the future where we can get a maximum benefit out of it without disrupting the environment at all. Okay, so offshore finfish has like different other benefits as well. It improves the product quality, it improves the water quality and site availability as well, and reduce the user conflict and user unit cost because of the vast place already available in the sea, high oceans. But it comes with the high risks and the high capital investment, so which we have to worry about, and it needs a very high scientist intervention or proper designing so that we to get the maximum benefit out of it. So in conclusion, because of the freshwater scarcity in many areas of the world, it is expected that mariculture eventually will become the dominant form of aquaculture, and transforming how we produce a seafood through strategic investment in innovative, more sustainable production methods, which will lead to a healthy, abundant and profitable food systems. These are the references that I have used in this particular lecture material. Thank you so much. See you on the next lecture. Thank you.